right. Thank you all for coming. You are at the Digital Hollywood Content Summit. It is Comedy Day. Woo! All right, Dynamite. You want to follow us on Twitter at DH Content Summit. The hashtag is DH2012. We have a treat for you. I mean, I just have to tell you straight up. You got a treat, and it's happening right now. This is a very sexy and illustrious and handsome, dark-haired panel of men who are not only smart and handsome, but also hilarious. And they're going to share their insights of producing and writing and the ins and outs of the writer's room and comedy. Just a quick shout out, a couple of things. I'm Amber J. Lawson. I am your hostess for the day today. Thank you. Awesome. I want to make sure you guys stick around at 4:15. We have a comedy and philanthropy panel, which will be making some announcements for transforming the world through comedy. So we'd love to see you then. And there are cocktails poolside at 5. Hey, can I get a shout out? Yeah. Thank you. And then we definitely want to thank Thomas Rigler of Rigler Creative Solutions for putting this all on, and Victor Harwood for putting on Digital Hollywood. Woo! All right, without further ado, I want to turn it over to the woman of the hour. She is going to tell us how it's going to be. She's going to dig in deep, investigative reporting. This is Leslie! I don't know if you want this in the holster.
Can you put it on the thingy?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's how technical we are. She's going to put the thingy in the thing. Yeah. There we go.
Maybe. That works. All right. Okay, so you might want to stick it in.
Does that work?
I think so.
I've always wanted to say this. Is this thing on? Okay. I'm Leslie Gornstein. I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm a writer for E! Online. Yes, this is a panel having to do, of course, with comedy writing and what it's like to be inside the quote-unquote writer's room, which is evolving pretty much as we stand here. I'm going to go down the line, starting from the far end. Would you all mind telling us your names and what it is that you do?
My name is Matthew Pollock. I'm a director at CollegeHumor. So I direct viral web videos, comedy videos. I also edit some of my own as well.
Terrific. Hi.
We've actually worked with Matt. My name is Jason Berger. I run a company called Kids at Play, basically a digital video content company. So we produce, I think we have about 25 digital series at this point on air, online. So that's kind of what we do. Everything's done in-house from script to screen. A lot of times we'll take, directors like Matt, and they'll come in and we'll produce the content with them. So.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Well done. My name is David Morgasen, and I have a production company called Colorado Lode Mine. And I write and direct comedy, and I do it for viral videos and for TV and whoever else will hire me. Pretty much. I've been doing it for a while, just go back and forth between TV and online stuff. So that's it.
Great.
Hey, I'm Glasgow Phillips. I'm Senior Vice President of Creative at Maker Studios. We're a studio and network based on YouTube. That the network consists of about 2,500 channels, and our content earns about 1.5 billion video views per month now. And nice to be here.
Wow.
My name is Chris Bruss, and I'm the VP of Branded Entertainment at Funny or Die. So when we produce content on behalf of brands and advertisers, I oversee that process from concepting to production to going live.
Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Now, I think one of the hardest things about being a comedy writer is getting there to begin with. I think a lot of people have a dream for doing that, but they don't know how to do that, and they think that there's some magical process by which you wake up one day and you get a call from somebody who just makes you, and that's a myth. So who wants to talk about how they broke in and be very generous about it and not just say, I got a call?
I'll take it.
Great.
I went the more traditional route and went to film school and all that, but while there, I was always more into drama and not comedy per se, and YouTube wasn't a thing yet. Internet was around, but it wasn't as big as it is now. So I was making shorts and things of that nature, and then I started editing at a post house. And from there, CollegeHumor started up their own original content line. And a buddy of mine I went to school with was working there as a DP, so I was fortunate enough to link up with him and got hired as an editor. And then from there, just, kicked butt, and they brought me on as a full-time director. But I basically learned comedy through doing it. Like I said, it was more in a drama growing up, and I never found to be I was never the class clown or anything like that. And just through doing it and just being smart and thinking, what do I find funny, and then making it, I kind of learned as I went. And eventually, now that I'm more in the comedy system, I'm now taking, classes at UCB for improv and sketch writing classes and things like that. But growing up, that was never my thing. And so by making it, you kind of learn, and you just trust your instincts. I'm like, oh, that made me laugh. Let's make more of these. And so yeah, that's how I came to be where I'm at.
Excellent. I think that David has a really interesting story about this. He was telling me just before panel.
Yeah, I kind of got to the whole viral thing in kind of a roundabout way. I mean, I started years ago doing funny radio commercials and things like that in advertising in New York. And then I liked the funny part, but I didn't like the commercials. So I started doing these radio bits that were syndicated all over the country. They're commercial parodies and things like that. And I just sort of kept going into video, and until I just moved out here to LA. I also, back in New York, did other stuff. I wrote for Spy Magazine, kind of in its heyday. Did a bunch of things like that.
Oh, boy. Well missed.
Yeah, it is. Did stuff for MTV, and did whatever I could do on the East Coast until I realized I had to move out here. So I moved out here, and I started writing for TV. And I started out just writing for comics, stand-up comics, on things like the American Comedy Awards. And I get to write for, in one show, I could write stuff for, Eddie Murphy, Dick Van Dyke, Jerry Seinfeld, and, Don Rickles, all in one show. So it was a great experience. Very, very diverse group. So I did a lot of that. And then I started working on TV shows and some sitcoms until I co-created a show that I produced with Howard Stern. It was on FX for 3 seasons. It was a parody of the show Baywatch, and it was called Son of the Beach. And Son of the Beach was on for 3 seasons. You're fans here.
Yes.
Both DVDs are out right now, by the way, on Amazon. So I did that, and it was great. And then after Son of the Beach, believe it or not, the next thing I did after that was I wrote a tween movie for Disney Channel called Princess Protection Program with Demi Lovato.
Right.
And Demi Lovato and one other, Selena Gomez. I don't track them every day. You have to excuse me. So I'm the king of tweens. No, it was, and that was a total accident because I was having lunch with a Disney executive, and for some reason he says, I want to meet with the guys from Son of the Beach. It's like, why? It's like, you're the Disney Channel. What possible reason? Have you seen our show? So there's 3 of us that created it, and I was the only one who was interested in going to the meeting. The other guys were not interested. And it's I'd like to do something my kid could watch, maybe, So I went to the meeting, and I was having lunch with this guy from Disney Channel, and so I didn't know what to do. And so we're eating, and I said, "So what are you guys looking for?" And he goes, "Well, we want something for a Latina audience. We want to do something with a Latina lead, and princesses are very big this year." So I'm eating, and it's so if I pitched you my show about the Latina princess idea, and he goes, "Well, that would be the sweet spot." And so I just kept going. And he goes, "Why? What do you have?" And I said, "Oh, my idea is about a princess in South America, a country called El Humidor, and she's living with her family."
No, wait a minute. Was this a flash dance for you? Were you doing this right now, or did you actually have a pitch that you thought up?
I didn't have the pitch,
okay.
No. I was kind of improvising. I studied with the Groundlings originally, and this was sort of a good improv exercise. I was kind of kidding at first. I was going to stop, but he kept listening. He didn't say shut up.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, she lives with her family. Her name is Rosie, which is short for Rosalita. And her family, her dad was overthrown in a bloodless coup. That's it, a bloodless coup. And so he's asking questions, and while he's asking, I'm eating really slowly because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I said, then there's a bloodless coup, and they were moved to the United States, and they were too small a country to be relocated to Park Avenue or Beverly Hills, so they're relocated by the U.S. government to Nutley, New Jersey, off of the Route 3 near the Home Depot, and they live in a split level, and they carry on the charade because the whole family wants to go back to to El Humidor someday. So they have thrones in the living room, and they dress up like kings and queens, except Rosie. Rosie's the middle child, and she just wants to be an American teen, so she gets dressed, she changes, and she jumps out the window and goes to the mall. And I just kept riffing, and I was saying, please shut me up, please tell me to stop. And I just kept going, and he goes, and I was just out of material, and he goes, wait, stop right there. Would you come in next week and pitch this to my boss? I said, sure, I could do that. Which is great, because I had a week to actually come up with something to pitch. So that's the way. So that was a sitcom pilot. They loved it, but of course the other 22 Disney channels worldwide didn't, and that's how they work, believe it or not. You got unanimous approval around the world. So they said, well, we could do the movie, so we did the movie. So I did that. And then I worked at, I wanted to check into this online thing, so I got a job at HBO. My agent got me a job at HBO Digital, and that's where I started working with people from the Groundlings, current troupe, and they had this David Blaine idea for a David Blaine viral video. And I started doing those, and I kind of fell into directing those. And I was directing those for a while, and just stopped working in TV because I liked doing it. And then I got a call from Jimmy Kimmel saying, I love your online stuff, can you come in? And I met with him, and he said, I want you to direct for me. And he had no idea that I was ever in TV, which is the weird thing to me. He just
thought you were a web discovery.
He thought I was a web discovery.
He thought he was rescuing you from
yes,
obscurity
yeah,
on
and
the
he
web.
had no idea. Like, one of his best friends is Howard Stern, and I worked for Howard. And in fact, right before he hired me, he called Howard as a reference. But at the time, he had no idea. So it was actually, I kind of liked it, the fact that he
You could have strung him along and just made him think that you were just nobody.
Yeah, I could have, but
just mess with him for a little bit.
I think somebody else might have let the cat out of the bag too. Around, hey, wait a minute, but somebody Googled me or something. But he liked it, and he liked all the stuff, and so he hired me, and I direct there. I shot there. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. I stayed for a year, and did a bunch of stuff for him, and now I continue to work both in TV and online, in the online worlds.
Which brings me to a natural question. First of all, I've actually got a question for Chris, and then I want to get back to that in a minute. But when he said princesses are big right now, that made me think of you simply no.
Princesses, yeah.
No, because as a head of branded content, I'm wondering if that's kind of, what's the process like to write comedy when you've already got this? I'm assuming it's a pretty tight framework you've got to work with. Do sponsors come in and say, princesses are really big right now, and we've got pink drinks, and it's got to be pink ginseng, princesses, kittens, make it funny, go?
Yeah, I mean, we every branded project that we work on is actually quite different, and so it's run the gamut of how tight the parameters are versus how much space we have to really sort of do our own thing. But I do think that as long as a brand, so brands and ad agencies come to us, and when they have a campaign and they want that sort of extra online unusual thing, obviously they're doing their TV commercials, they do billboards, they do print, but we can be that sort of one little interesting weird thing that they do. And as long as they're coming to us with that in mind, they typically know what they're getting into and want the Funny or Die voice, want Funny or Die to be able to sort of take the framework of what their larger campaign is, but then run with it in our own direction. So we've certainly had people who say, no, it's got to be exactly like this, and you have to mention these 5 words, and it's very, very strict. But there is also, to a certain extent, some fun in the challenge of that. And I think that when we do have things that are very specific like that, it's just it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit more work, but it's really actually exciting when you can come up with something that fits all of their parameters, but that also that we as a creative team like, and that happens to do well online and whatnot. That's always a fun sort of thing, possible end result.
Speaking of creative teams, do you all work as a writing team? Do you all work in writers' rooms? I mean, I can't stand writing by committee. I have to lock myself away and not speak, or things happen.
Well, I think that so part of us do work in writing rooms a lot. Like we'll so on a lot of our shows, whether we're creating the content personally in-house or if the content has come to us, we'll still send some of our folks into a writing room and kind of help them mold it, much like they do over at Funny or Die, where it's like they'll know, just like Funny or Die knows, look, this is going to, this will work and this won't work. And so you have to do a lot of kind of sanding down in those rooms. And what might be a great, TV show does not necessarily translate online at all. So we do get a lot of folks to come in outside that want us to produce the content, and you're looking at an 18-page script, and it's supposed to be 3 minutes. And so we'll spend quite a bit of time, developing it and developing it and developing it, and then finally executing. And once it's kind of, molded into that online specific, demographic that they want to attract.
And you've heard people mention the Groundlings and UCB. Improv is a really strong base for comedy and for the online comedy community. And so improvising is always about doing something in a group. So we do, at Funny or Die, have a room that the writers sit in and work on the branded stuff with me, the non-branded stuff with the editorial team, coming up with ideas, working collaboratively. But then they also can go off and then write the actual pages on their own, or but comedy, I think, is a very collaborative process.
Yeah. At Maker, most of the people that we work with, the creative people, are coming from having built their own YouTube channel successfully and on their own.
By themselves.
By themselves, right? So it's been a huge pleasure to be able to introduce people who have been creating all by themselves, sometimes in sort of a vacuum, even though they have a relationship with their fans that's very two-way.
And they play well with others. That's
what's been fun is gradually making this tool set available to people, of like a bunch of funny people sitting around in a room, and to a lot of creators, that's this thing that they never even knew existed. I mean, I didn't before I was a comedy writer in television. I didn't know that there were rooms like The Room. I didn't know that was a thing.
You didn't know about the legendary writers' room?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so it's been fabulous having these people who've already honed their own voices and already have a bunch of production skills that most comedy writers don't, so that they can think about what's going to work for their audience and what can they actually make. And then to be able to use that iterative, collaborative process that the writer's room is all about, because I think you're totally right. It's inherently collaborative. Like, comedy is not something you can really do by yourself in a room.
Oh, I disagree. I do it all by myself.
You could write a great script, but I really think that, like, for instance, I don't laugh that much when I'm sitting by myself. But if you're...
That makes one of you. Go ahead.
Right? If you're in a room with a bunch of other funny people, that's how you find out what's really funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was going to just add on one more thing. You brought up a good point about the UCB and the Groundlings. What we kind of do at Kids at Play is that the reason why we use a ton of the folks from UCB and the Groundlings, and actually have gotten a bunch of directors from Funny or Die as well, is that, in the space that we're all in here, it's like we've got basically 5 seconds or so to make sure that they're going to watch our content. And so my company originally was founded on this idea of TV production as well as commercial advertising type of space, and that was because a lot of the creative directors and art directors would function in this kind of 30 to 90 second sweet spot, and then the TV guys. So I thought that there may be some sort of mold, and what kind of the folks at UCB and the Groundlings do is they're able to see some immediate reaction. And they have to be, they have to get a reaction from their audience very quickly, and that is much like the space that we all function in here, and that we try and also with branded stuff, we try and also do that as well, which is to get people to stay and watch for, even if it's a 90-second spot online, it still is the first 5 seconds, pretty much is all we've got. That's why we work in that kind of capacity.
That sounds a lot more brutal even than television. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, is that you wrong this audience and you're done. I mean, that's really it. I mean, there's no really turning back. I mean, you have to build some sort of street cred with this audience, or else they're not going to come back and watch your content.
So it's 5 seconds. It's literally 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think that's probably what
Yeah.
In that 5 to 7 seconds, and they if they turn off your content and you've somehow wronged them, or you've reached a demographic that doesn't want anything to do with this content, they're just not going to watch it, and they're going to really go out and make it clear that nobody else should watch that content.
David, has that been
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really is.
So like you are dead to me and all of my
Yeah,
friends.
I mean, that's really it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And I think that's why it's so collaborative in the humor space, because, you know, you could get a phenomenal TV writer in that room that is well known in TV and, you know, who everybody loves, and it could maybe not play very well in the online space.
David?
It's true. When I was at HBO, I also, one of my jobs was to listen to pitches from people who came in, pitch shows, and some of them were really great. And I just realized early on that what's a great TV idea may not be such a great idea for an online video.
Is it about demo, or is it really about timing, or what? I mean, is it playing to the kids? Is that the difference?
It's just, I don't know.
I think it's perception of the audience too. I mean,
It's perception of the audience, but it's also, I think, putting yourself in their seats, like the person at home or in their office or wherever they're watching it, watching on a small screen. They're sitting there. It's very personal. It's not like watching TV. And so people want to see something that's kind of made for them in this medium, not, you know, huge TV. In fact, I found early on, like, really high production values turn people off sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, the aesthetics should be, it's like, oh, they're, you know, this guy's from TV. You know, I don't want to watch this. You know, when people want to watch TV shows, they watch TV shows. But a lot of the viral stuff that I found anyway, it's more kind of presentational. You're sort of like speaking to this person watching. And that's what I would perform, this kind of litmus test whenever somebody pitched an idea. And I'd say, no, I think that's a great TV idea, but it didn't really translate.
Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, kids these days, all of us in general, the way we live is we want to be the person who found something. We want to be the person who found the band or found, you know, or was at the place where something happened. You know, Instagram, Twitter, everyone's like, oh, check this out, check this out. So making a viral video is essentially making something that someone wants to show someone else. Like, check out this awesome video I found. It's a very personal thing in that they are the ones who found it. And I think... and it's totally true. Like, you need to get the joke out, or you need to hook the audience right away. If you have a 15-second long intro into your web series, you're done. But you know, along with that, you could buy some extra seconds with something really awesome. You know, some videos do work in high production value. Some videos do not at all. If you're doing a video where it's like, oh, you know, like someone walking through their house, that shouldn't look like a Hollywood film. Otherwise, the audience recognizes right away that this isn't true. But ultimately, it's making something that people want to share with their friends and basically have ownership over that. I found this video. I thought it was funny. You should find it funny too. And then they think they're the best people out there, which is kind of weird.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, it's this idea that, you know, what was prime time is no longer, it's pretty much my time. And that's really what it comes down to, is that, you know, people have maybe 5 minutes before their boss rounds the corner and, you know, to watch something. And you really want to kind of get them to watch it, enjoy it, love it, pass it on in those 5 minutes.
You try to look for that one thing that's going to make them want to actually take the trouble to either post it on their Facebook page or send it to their friends or whatever, or tweet it. And the bar keeps getting higher because people like, they don't really, it takes a lot for them to want to just send it to everybody they know. So you kind of look for things that people are going to be talking about. Maybe it's adding some controversy. And what I used to like to do at HBO is I used to do stuff that looked like it could be real, make it look authentic, and fool people. And they love that, I found. It's like if you shoot something really, like even if you're shooting it with an iPhone, you know, to make it look real. Like there's a couple of things I did was supposed to look like it was from an award show from the 1980s. And what I did was I did the post-production and then I outputted it into a VHS, a really old VHS machine. And then I re-inputted it into the computer from the VHS with some bad tracking. It sucked. I mean, it looked horrible, but it was really, people say, you know, hey, wait a minute, I never saw this. You know, you see these comments, and the more comments, the better, because if you're getting a lot of comments, that means people are seeing it. You know, so even if people say it sucked, and then somebody says,
that's okay with you?
Well, if a lot of people see it, if 99% of people say it sucks, that's not okay. But if it's, you know, it's a few percent, but it's always like the David Blaine videos that we did. It's always the same thing. It's a cycle where somebody says, you know, hey, check out, you know, from from 257, 259. Check it out. You know, I saw like a cameraman's shadow, you know, or something. Or it's like this. I think they're getting these little. Sometimes we put Easter eggs in there to discover, but a lot of times it's like, you know, they'll say, one guy says fake, and then right after that, the next person goes, duh. No shit, Sherlock, or something like that. And it's like always like the same cycle. And then there's always the people, no matter what you do,
Who will say, who cares?
Yes.
I hate this freaking thing. This sucks. I mean, no matter what it is, they just, because they have the power to be anonymous and do what people do on the internet. So
I think we're entering a new time when those viral techniques are still really important. Obviously, you've got to hook somebody right at the first, and you've got to make the content that you're making shareable. But one thing that it feels like we're moving a little bit towards something that isn't like television, but is similar to television in certain ways, in that you can create a sustained connection with your audience that's going to be very valuable to advertisers, of course, but also to the people who are making the content, and meaningful for the people who are consuming it, right? It's like this the desire to come back for more of something that's not exactly the same, but just the same way you come back to the TV shows you love, right? Like, you get what you expect to get from them when you go back to them. And so learning to take these best practices from the sort of last 10 years of making internet video and figuring out how those meet up with the best practices of sustained audience engagement is what I think is the interesting and fun part about right now, and that's something we're really concentrating on.
I'm really sensing a real a change and evolution with this whole convergence. You know, because of like Netflix and Hulu, and people are getting used to watching stuff that's more than 5 minutes. Yeah. And maybe that does have better production values. So you can tell it's really evolved from the beginning till now, and will continue, to your point.
When I said about it's all about perception, it's so weird because you can watch content on any platform these days. So it really does come down to perception. If we put something up on the site, or if I see a link that says, check out this new short film. It's a short film from, Spike Jonze, and it's online, it's on YouTube, or it's on a website, then I'm going to give it plenty of time to open up, and it's going to have opening credits, and I'm going to sit there, and it's going to be 12 minutes or 18 minutes, and I'm going to say, I'm watching a short film. But if you go to the homepage of Funny or Die, and you click on the main player, what we found is the perception is, what I'm clicking on is going to be a 2-minute long sketch comedy video that's going to hook me in the first 10 to 15 seconds. And so when it doesn't, then it can be jarring. So it's real. I mean, you just mentioned Netflix. Obviously, Arrested Development is going to have their new season there. I'm going to be watching it through my Apple TV on my computer, but on my TV. But I could also very well be watching it on my laptop or on my iPad. But I have the perception that I'm watching a TV show. So I think it's going to be a lot about it is going to be about marketing, actually. It's about how we tell the consumer what it is that they should be expecting that they're going to see, because you can watch things anywhere. So I think you kind of have to give people a little bit of primer. You're about to see something, give it the time you would a TV show or a short film, or get ready to laugh right away because this is a sketch.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, because like a lot of our content that we're seeing, at least, because we have shows on My Damn Channel, Yahoo, Vivo, pretty much we run the gamut. And a lot of our stuff now is in its second, third season. So people do know that, hey, you're going to go and you're going to watch this. You're going to see an intro, animation and an outro. And, even on some of our YouTube stuff that we produce, as you guys probably well know, is that, we need to fill X amount of content, hours. So, we had a show that came out on Loud Channel that was Watsky, and Watsky was 9-10 minutes long, and people were asking for more. So they are getting used to that if they're going to expect that. So you can't cheat the audience into, you bring up a great point. They go to Funny or Die, they're like, listen, I don't want to mess around. I just want to see this video that my buddy sent me, and I know I'm going to laugh in 2 minutes. But if they go to one of our shows on Yahoo, they are going to expect that the content is going to be a little bit longer, maybe, and that there is kind of a long thread through it. If it's episodic, then they're going to,
And we have a series now called First Dates with Toby Harris. It's in its second season on Yahoo, and it's got some intro credits, and it slowly tells a story. And I think that we were very mindful of the fact that we certainly could have produced that and put it on Funny or Die, but Yahoo's building a channel out that is for series, for telling an ongoing story. So that felt like the right place for it.
Absolutely. It totally matters of where the destination is. Because those people are going there and they're going to expect that. You know, not necessarily like getting a viral video that, you know, David Blaine, I mean, I watched those. I mean, those things were unbelievable. And that, you know, that definitely doesn't warrant, you know, an intro and an outro and all that kind of stuff, because people want to go there and see something, laugh real quick, turn it off. You know, us, you know, if we have a show with Niecy Nash, you know, they want to dive into it, they want to enjoy it, they expect there to be some sort of arc to it, you know, and much like we watch television.
One thing that's been wonderful to observe and now practice is the way that on the YouTube platform specifically, where you have, as a producer, a little more control than maybe you do if you're going through a portal like Yahoo or something like that, is the ability to put up a short piece of content that's intended to do all the things we've been talking about in terms of like quick engagement, it's laugh, and it's shareable, and then also to break out at effectively no cost the longer version for the really engaged hardcore fans. So for there's a series that we do called California On, where this guy Kasim, who's hilarious, goes down to Venice Beach and interviews people about this, that, or the other. And there's one short video that comes from it, but there's also all this shoulder content that's not like, oh, now we got to go make the shoulder content. It's just everything that was in the long timeline before you made the short one. So it's been really interesting to see how you're really reaching two different demos. I don't know if they're different age demos, but they're certainly different audience segments of people who want to be completely immersed for as many hours of content as you can give them, and people who just want to go like, here you go.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, that's exactly right, because the other issue that, and I'm sure you deal a lot with this with the branded side, is that a lot of people, you know, in order to, you know, Funny or Die does it probably better than anybody out there, but, you know, when you get a branded client out there and they want to make 6 episodes of something, what they don't necessarily realize is that it takes a little bit of time for those arcs to kind of get into, you know, and people to recognize the content, to find the content. And so you kind of struggle with that a little bit in, you know, doing episodic content for brands in kind of this media distribution, you know, strategy where they're going to buy media and place it different, you know, in different places. So, you know, it's Funny or Die does it really, really well, where they're like, listen, this is the viral video that you bought. You know, it's going to live on Funny or Die, but, you know. So.
And it's just about brands and about time lengths. What we're doing more of, and I think is going to be just a prevalent thing in advertising, is that we'll do a sketch comedy video, so that's a piece of online content, and then we can cut that down into a 30-second pre-roll or TV commercial, and people are now running these on TV. And so it's accomplishing 2 goals for the brand, and it's a really, really funny, tight 15 or 30-second spot that people are sharing, right? If it's a funny commercial, people will still share it. Or you can go and you can see this whole 2-minute sort of thing and all the stuff that happened in between and all the different improvisation comedy we did and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean,
you've seen a lot more there.
Right. That's what we do the same thing, and that's the key, because once you've engaged the audience, you kind of want to keep the audience engaged for as long as you can.
All right, let's back up for 1 second here. Let's go back to the idea of a writer's room for a minute, because I think no. Because I'm thinking a lot of people want to do what you do. They want to get there. They want to be able to talk about all these things that you're talking about, but they don't know how to get there.
We're just execs now. We're not funny anymore.
No, you're not. I mean, I personally imagine, I don't know, writers' rooms as like these giant cage matches, and Tina Turner is in there with like body armor, and, you know, it's just like this.
That sounds like a good writer's room.
No, I mean, just the idea of like slinging ideas back and forth and somebody else trying to kill it, and, you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm scared of them, I think, because I just think that, you know, art is so delicate, and you go in there and you present an idea, and what if everybody steps on it?
I mean, writers are delicate. It's a group of shy guys with skinny jeans.
Absolutely, that's what I think.
Very quietly. I mean, I don't know. That's my experience.
So what I'd want to know is, I mean, if I want to do what you do, or if anybody here wants to do what you do, what process should they take now?
Well, I think that there's the idea of the television sitcom writer career that in the mid-'80s or the mid-'90s was this fantastic idea that that was a career that you could educate yourself for. I'm going to go to Harvard, I'm going to write in a Lampoon, then I'm going to get a job as a writer's assistant, and then I'll be a millionaire by the time I'm 26.
Doesn't happen anymore.
Well, it's just this narrowing field, right? But at the same time, all these tools are available that were not available, like cameras and editing software, right? Like you can make your own TV show.
It's completely different.
Yeah. So the writing room of old, where there are, you know, supposedly in the days of Roseanne, there's like 60 people on staff, right? that's not what it used to be, but there are all these small, all the UCB, Groundling stuff you guys are talking about, it's like, that's where it's at now. It's just finding some people you like to hang out with and making some funny things together, which is what a TV writer's room is in the best case, right? Like, it's the best cocktail party that goes on all day with the funniest people you know, and then you go home.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's,
sorry, cut you off. We have at CollegeHumor, we've had 3, maybe actually 4 writers now go from CollegeHumor, writers at CollegeHumor, to TV. Sarah Schneider's writing for SNL. David Young's writing for Jimmy Fallon. We have a writer who wrote for an In Living Color reboot that may or may not happen. He wrote a bunch of sketches for it. And then we have a writer who's writing shows for the Disney Channel and doing animated work. So we've actually taken, and these are guys that went to school for accounting and things like that, and then they just, thought they were funny and started making funny videos, and CollegeHumor found them and hired them as interns or various other jobs, and they worked into the writer's room. And the way we do our writer's room is people throw out ideas, and if people laugh, it's like, okay, well, what else can we do? And it's the whole mantra of like, if 3 people come up with the same idea, maybe that's not the best idea to go with, because then the audience is going to see that and not find it as funny. So they just work together, and eventually you make these videos that millions of people watch, and you could present them and work your way into a real writer's room of TV or film, and go that way, or at the very least just stay where you're at and have a nice career making content that millions of people are going to watch.
Right, I was going to say, it doesn't sound like TV needs to be the end-all, be-all goal anymore.
No, definitely not.
Back in the day,
that sounds old in a way.
Back in the day, it was a gatekeeper, and you couldn't get past the gatekeeper. If the gatekeeper said, no, I don't like your stuff, or I don't like you, or whatever, you're screwed. But now you can easily circumvent the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
You can make videos. It's cheap enough. You get a camera, use your iPhone, and you upload it. Use this cheap editing software. You just do it all yourself. And if people vote with their views, and people can't ignore the fact that your video's got 50 million views. It's like you must be doing something right. So you get to circumvent the gatekeeper, which is really a great thing. And it's this is a good time, actually, to be coming up in many ways, because you can do it.
To do it yourself.
Like, there is nobody that can tell you no.
Right.
And we're we as a company, and my group specifically, really want to start connecting better with television and doing shows for TV. But we're honestly hitting some challenges where people, our talent that we work with, are doing great, having a great time, doing exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard for the starter TV deal to work for that person, right? Well, I want it to, but a lot of times the talent's like, well, I got a good thing going here. Like, I do what I want that I think's funny, and I'm living well. So it's a different time.
Probably one of the most famous examples is the Lonely Island guys, right? I mean, they were obviously doing their own thing and made it to SNL, but that's actually happening a lot because there's so many more entities, right? It's not just SNL. It's not, if you want to do comedy online or on TV, there are so many entities out there that are finding people online who are making their own stuff. And yet, to your point, we've had a number of opportunities that we think, we could sell this as a TV show, and we look at the offer from a TV network. Then we look at the offer from, maybe it's a Yahoo, maybe it's a brand, and we go, if we really just want to do it our way, maybe that's the better way to do it. And so it's great to have options, but I think that TV is not the only game in town, obviously. Now.
And I think we all know and believe that our content is now becoming available on televisions, right? Like, through these connected TVs. Like, every single person up here makes stuff that you can watch through a TV, if that's how you choose to consume it. And also, you guys at CollegeHumor and Funny or Die, like, to a young comedy writer or producer, getting a show or a job with you guys is as meaningful as it is to get a job on a show on cable, right? Like, where the young, funny, cool stuff is.
Some people come to me and are, they're like, you have the dream job. You direct funny videos for CollegeHumor. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, there's other things. There's other things I want to do, but I mean, to some people, like, this is their favorite form of entertainment.
It still doesn't. It doesn't pay as well as TV.
Yeah, not at all.
But
you're not pulling out $3 million.
Let's not make lies and say that TV is internet makes as much as TV. It doesn't. I mean, if you work really hard at it and do branded content, you can make a good amount of money. But you're not. Writers on the internet are making 6-figure salaries like they are on big time TV shows.
But
I've been instructed not to talk about revenue or money, but I beg to differ.
See, that's what I was going to
So let's talk about revenue or money quickly. Very quickly before we get to questions. Does anybody here have questions? Or can we talk about money?
That's my question.
Yeah.
Money. Is your question money? It's money, right? No? Okay, can it be money? Because I would like to know. Want to throw out a real figure?
No,
Oh.
but people are making a
Please.
living doing this, and people that have their own channels and program them themselves can make a very, very good living. Now, it's extremely competitive, right? It's not like it's easy. You got to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have to have tons of relationships. You have to collaborate with lots of people. You have to work like crazy. It's not like you just kick back and it happens. But there are definitely now viable, real career paths that no one can give you permission to follow, but that you can follow if you're 18 right now.
And the best way to start doing it is to do it.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no
that's
other
it.
way.
And that's what I tell people too. I don't write for video. I write for online print. But I say the same thing to everybody. Just do it. Just get on the web, get yourself a blog, do it, and just do it. Don't ask me for permission. Just do it. And did you want to ask your question?
Sure, I guess about money because it's about views, so that makes money. So I liked what you were saying about how once people know what to expect when they sit down based on format, that's going to bring more viewers in the end. And I was wondering, especially for those of you that are working with sort of a web series as opposed to a sketch, what are the formats and the time amounts that you're finding that actually work and are becoming most successful? More than minutes, just like the beats. Like, is it an initiating event and then an adventure and then the end, or is it more like what's working the best?
I mean, we have an interesting way of doing our series at CollegeHumor. We'll take we used to have an idea for a series and then go for it and make it. And what we found is that if the audience isn't engaged enough, they'll stop watching. And especially if it's some sort of story arc. So what we've been doing is taking a sketch, just taking a video that we thought was funny, and making it. And if it gets, a couple million views, all right, let's make another one and turn it into a web series and then do a whole series. And more times than not, what we found is that doing a series that has an arc is great, but also doing one-offs is great too, because the audience sometimes will miss a week or something like that, and then they don't go back and watch it and are done. But which is weird because it's all out there, and you think, oh, they could go back and watch it, but one-off sketch is just like a sitcom almost. People love it, and they just come back and they'll watch it and they'll watch it again, knowing that they don't have to pay attention to the story, and they just come and laugh. And we found it works great for us.
Yeah, most of our series, to date at least, have not been something that have a very, very complex storyline that unfolds over episodes. They are a little bit modular, and then you could sort of watch them out of order. If you think about Drunk History or Between Two Ferns, I mean, those you can watch in any order. And then even ones that do have a little bit more character arc, like the Toby Harris one that we're doing for Yahoo, there are sort of specific beats. It's Toby, he goes on a date, you meet the date, it's going well, something doesn't go well, there's a resolution to it. And so it does tend to it's very much like a traditional sitcom where there are a few things that occur over the course of a season, but you want them to be a self-contained episode if possible.
So I don't know what's going on over at Yahoo with regard to those original series, but I'm presuming that there's a person who's sort of like an exec there who hears your idea and says, hey, yeah, let's do that. We want to have some web series, right?
Yeah,
but my point being that that's a structure being imposed externally. Like, you're glad to participate in it, but if you were doing it on your own site, that's not how you'd roll. Like, you would put something up, see how it does, and then double down if it does well, right?
Yes.
Because that's what we do.
And
it's hard when you're a person used to using your taste, right, to determine what you're going to do, to have to listen, right? Like, if they don't like it, don't keep doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but it definitely functions. A lot of these places now function as networks, so to speak. I mean, like little versions of networks. Whether that's the YouTube channel that you're on, whether that's the particular channel, whether it's Yahoo, wherever it may be, they do actually function a little bit like it, like a network. And they'll say, listen, it's got to be in this 3 to 5 minute range, or hey, it's on this YouTube channel and they want to be at 9 to 10 minutes because they got to fill the content. So it really does kind of, it varies depending upon where the outlet is, but a lot of times we try and stick to the 3 to 5 minute rule.
All right, I think that's it. I think we're being told to wrap up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're fun, man. Yeah.